Hey guys, Chris with Retro Crypt back for another video. Came across this on MSN Gaming News a couple minutes ago, and I just kind of wanted to review this. Let me see. So it's the 10 best NES games of all time. Story by Carrie Lambertson, posted 5 months ago. I think I'm getting a little echo in the background. I don't know why. I feel like anytime I don't stream for a while, once I stream again, there's something weird going on. So I, gotta plug in and unplug shit, see what works, see what doesn't. But hopefully this video doesn't come out too messed up. Either way, let's get into it. The Nintendo Entertainment System is an iconic console, facts, and was the originator of many classic video game series. NES games may be dated by modern standards. I don't really think a lot of NES games are dated, to be perfectly honest, because it's kind of like tattooing. Traditional tattooing never gets old. It's always, it really depends on what you like. Everybody's different. I happen to love retro games, obviously, if you can't tell by my channel name. I'm really big on retro games. I like modern games as well, but nowhere near as much as the stuff I grew up on. So they continue to provide engaging and challenging experiences even today. So I like games that I can just pick up and play. It's more about, kind of pattern recognition and reaction time, as opposed to having like an experience. Games that I really love where the whole game is an experience, like a lived-in experience. I really love the Fallout series, but outside of that, I love retro games. So let me stop blabbing and read a little bit more. When the Nintendo Entertainment System launched in '86, it ushered in the beginning of a new age for video games. Nintendo's legacy over the years has built upon the foundations that the NES laid, and many of the popular Nintendo game franchises that began on the console are still going strong. Yeah, Zelda, Metroid, what else? There's a lot, but those are the ones that immediately spring to mind. I'm really hoping we get a new Punch-Out game at some point. We haven't had one since the Wii. Obviously Mario Brothers. Mario Brothers to Zelda, the games and characters that many grew up on, began on that simple yet astounding machine. Let me close this up. We don't need that. Alright. Though the exact numbers can get fuzzy depending on the criteria used, over 700 games were released on the NES during its 10-year lifespan. Wow. I didn't realize it was 10 years. Many still stand out in people's minds, and it would perhaps be better to make a list of the top 100 games that rather than the top 10, due to the nostalgia and love that the games on the NES hold. The games chosen here have earned their place due to the lasting impact that they left on the video game community as a whole, their replayability, even by today's gaming standards, and the popularity they held at the time of their release. That said, there are still many, many more games that could have been included, and everyone has a right to their personal favorite. So we got Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Yes. Slightly embarrassed. Well, I shouldn't be, because the game is hard as fuck. I haven't beaten Mike Tyson without emulators yet. Even with slowing it down and using save states, he's damn near impossible for me. But I know there's people that have beaten him without taking a single punch, but it's real a little bit. In the first year of its release, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out sold over 2 million copies. Wow, that's impressive. In the North America, number, the same number as was reached by The Legend of Zelda. This boxing video game was made as an adaptation of the popular arcade games. I never knew that up until a couple of years ago. I played the arcade machine at a retro video game store, and it was really interesting. There's some characters from Super Nintendo as well on there that didn't make it into the first game, like Piston Hurricane, Punch Out, and Super Punch Out, including the world heavyweight champion Mike Tyson as the big boss at the end of the game. Despite the game only being promoted between 87 and 90, the length of Nintendo's contract with Mike Tyson has continued to be one of the best NES games ever sold. And contrary to popular belief, it's not Mike Tyson's legal troubles that the game had to go from Mike Tyson's Punch Out just to Punch Out, and Mike Tyson was rebranded as Mr. Dream. It was due to, I guess, his contract expired, and they just went in another direction. So coming in at number 9 is DuckTales 1989. I used to love playing this game growing up. Me, my brother, and my sister would play this all the time, and I was horrible at this game then, and I'm still pretty bad at it. My sister could beat it. It's actually probably not as tough as I feel like it should be, but it's just old NES games are the controls could be a little temperamental, and again, it's really, you have to be picture perfect, which it could be annoying, but it could also be kind of a thrill when you do beat the game, just knowing that the janky controls contribute to the difficulty a little bit. So DuckTales video game is a platformer that was based on the popular animated series of the same name, which began airing episodes 2 years before the game's launch. With its surprisingly effective game controls, vibrant graphics, definitely, it's a Capcom game, classic, an exciting story, the game quickly became a favorite for many. In 2013, a remastered version of the game, which I never played, was released. I've heard good things about it, though. Bringing the story back in the limelight as many continue to replay it even today. And another fun fact, DuckTales 2 is apparently very hard to find and expensive. Coming in at number 8, Dragon Warrior 1986. I'm not the hugest RPG fan, but I really like Dragon Warrior. This is the only one that I actually ever played. And it's very grindy. So if you probably know what that means, but you basically just, if you play it on an emulator, you could speed up the frame rate, so that you basically just go to an area with easier monsters to fight and then just walk straight or across, and just hold down the A button and you can kill monsters really fast and level up that way. But on the NES, things like this and the original Final Fantasy are extremely tedious and grindy. So let's see what she wrote. Although the name may continue to confuse some, the NES game Dragon Warrior is the first game in the Dragon Quest franchise which continues to see successful new entries in the main series, such as Dragon Quest, 11S, and many spin-offs, including the recent Dragon Quest Monsters, The Dark Prince. The original NES game Dragon Warrior may have had to use a different title, but it marked the debut of the now iconic slime monster and RPG quest of a young hero off to defeat the Dragon Lord. I don't know, I've heard stories as to the name confusion. I don't really remember off the top of my head. I don't know if it's like a Japanese thing where it's named one thing in Japan and one thing in everywhere else, but I got all the way up to the end and then my save state deleted, so I never actually officially finished this game, and reading about it now I kind of want to, so that's something I gotta get cooking up in 2024. Years old, already halfway over, so I gotta get cracking with the videos. Next, Metroid 1986. Now this, I loved this game growing up, and I never could understand what to do in this game. I would basically just walk around. I would get the morph ball and just walk around and get killed really really fast. Obviously, in later entries, it was refined a lot more, and I think part of it had to do with what this came out in '86. I probably played it in '87, '88, so I was like 5 or 6 when I played this. So I had no idea what to do. I really, you go from playing Mario Brothers where you just move straight, you just move to the right and just try to avoid getting killed, to an open world experience where you're not given any kind of clues or direction. When you're that little, you don't know what you're doing. But when Super Metroid came out, I was super excited for that. I think it came out, I believe it came out in '94, so I was like, what, 12 at that point, so I really had an idea of what I was doing. Had already played Link to the Past. So Metroid captivated its players in 1986 with its sci-fi horror adventure set on the planet Zebes, as Samus attempted to recover the Metroid parasites that had been stolen by the space pirates. It was a deviation from the platforming games that had hitherto been the bulk of NES games, with a more non-linear action-style gameplay and a deeper sci-fi story, culminating with the shocking reveal that Samus is a woman. So back in those days, they didn't have this whole, not to get too political, but it was just like, hey, surprise, it's a woman, no big deal. She was strong enough to kill the aliens. She could do what men do, etc., etc. It wasn't crammed down your throat like the original Alien. It's like, you think Tom Skerritt is going to be, who played Dallas, you think he's going to be the hero, but it's a surprise it comes up as Ripley is not necessarily the hero in the first movie, but just manages to survive and outsmart the alien. So when it's done like that, I feel like it's done well. There doesn't need to be a huge political message behind it. But hey, to each their own. Its success spawned numerous other games in the Metroid series and secured Samus's role as an iconic heroine. Big facts right there. So next, my absolute, full disclosure, my favorite Castlevania, and I'm a huge Castlevania fan. This is Castlevania 3 is my absolute favorite. I saw this. This is before the internet, obviously, and I read, Nintendo Power here and there, like if it was at the school library, but I didn't even know that Castlevania 3 was coming out yet. So I was at Kmart with my dad, and I saw it, and I asked him for it, please, please, please. He's like, nah, you can't get that right now. And I was disappointed and everything, and then I don't remember. It was like a couple days or weeks later. He's like, what was that game that you wanted? And then I was like, oh, Castlevania 3, you mean? And then he just like pulled it out of the bag and surprised me with it. It was really, really cool. And there's another game that I did not finish until I was an adult. I don't really remember what happened to my original copy of it, but I found another copy of it at a flea market when I was in my early 20s, and I finally defeated it without save states. And like, look at this. Modern retro games, like, I've been going crazy for Prison City lately. Like the color palette here, the backgrounds. Obviously, yeah, it's not like realistic, but I don't know what it is. It's just games like this. It's like it lets your imagination fill the holes, and like this, the bat, iconic bat, it's great. The iconic merman, the iconic blocks and candles, and pillars, and the way that they use kind of the stippling effect right here to, create the background. It's like you don't really need all the bells and whistles. Castlevania 3 was made as a prequel, yes. Trevor Belmont was, I believe, the grandfather of Simon. It was made as a prequel to the original Castlevania, set a few centuries prior and laying a bit of groundwork for the story that would go on to release over 30 games. With a clever new game mechanic such as choice as playable character and 4 different endings based on decisions made during the game, it had many notable improvements over previous Castlevania games. It was amazing. My favorite guy was Grant. Aside from Trevor, my favorite guy is Grant. Alucard and Sypha definitely have their pros, but being able to climb up walls and stuff was probably the best for me, for my money. And also in the Japanese version, he's able to throw his daggers. It's not just a short-range dagger attack, which I've never played the Japanese version. I would love to play that one day. Although it has not had a remaster or remake, the game has been re-released several times over the years as part of the Castlevania Anniversary Collection in 2019. Yeah, I have that on PS4. Actually, I have to purchase it for the Switch as well, so I could play it on the go. Super Mario Brothers 85. My mother loved this game. She played it endlessly. Release date September 13th, 1985. I was not even 3 years old yet. So this is the one that started it all. Not the first Mario game, but the one that kind of started Mario Mania. One of the launch titles for the NES, and frankly the start of the worldwide gaming phenomenon. The platformer Super Mario Brothers continues to be regarded among the best video games ever created. Today, Mario is one of the most recognizable video game characters in the world and is spread across every form of media, including the successful movie in 2023. I watched it, it was okay. The straightforward concept of the first Super Mario Brothers game on the NES was an example of how much fun a basic platformer with bright colors and simple game mechanics could be, and continues to be replayed to this day. Mario Brothers 2 is probably my favorite. Tetris 1989 puzzle game. I know there's a Tetris game recently released. I really have been meaning to watch it and do a video review of it, because apparently there's like a long, lengthy, and pretty interesting story behind the making of it, and it actually got pretty in-depth and political. Just due to the time, it was like the height of the Cold War, and it's this video game created by a Russian gentleman. I forget his name right now. Maybe it'll come up in the article, but let's see. Tetris on the NES had a bit of an interesting history, with legal battles taking place between Atari and Nintendo over who held the rights to the game, despite its creator receiving nothing for it at the time. Damn. The dramatic story behind the puzzle game was relatively unknown to consumers, however, and many were first introduced to the classic title with its catchy music on NES. To its players, the game continues to provide a timeless puzzle experience that is challenging and engaging. Not one of my favorite games, but it is one of those games where when you start to play it, it's very addictive and you can't really put it down. 10 weird facts about Tetris. Maybe we could do that another time. Tetris is one of the best-selling video games ever, and its history is now a movie. Here are some of the facts behind the game. ... Some other time. Mega Man 2. Big facts. I love Mega Man, and Mega Man 2 is the best. Besides offering one of the best video game soundtracks of all time, definitely, Mega Man 2 combined its side-scrolling platform gameplay with a sci-fi with sci-fi shooter mechanics flawlessly on the NES. The unique robotic henchman of Dr. Wily, who went up against Mega Man, introduced memorable personas such as Bubbleman, Flashman, Woodman, and more, with each different theme that the levels and corresponding robot boss provided. Players became even more entranced by the game. So this is probably the best of the mainline series, but my favorite is 1, if that makes sense. This has much more refined gameplay than the first Mega Man, but I feel just by the selection of robot bosses, like that first lineup is the best. Or I should say my favorite. So Legend of Zelda 1986, another game that I did not finish until adulthood. Recently tried picking it up again a couple months ago, and it's impossible without a guide. I'm sorry. There's like no. I guess back in the day, video game players would just kind of try everything, like try to walk through every wall, try to light every bush on fire, etc., etc. But I feel like that wastes a lot of unnecessary time, which is okay. But like I said, if you have a guide, it's much better. If not for Super Mario Brothers getting there first, it is quite possible that Link in The Legend of Zelda could have easily become the most famous mascot of Nintendo's franchises. The action-adventure game The Legend of Zelda gave players an early example of an open-world game, including many hidden secrets to find. Its dungeons were filled with clever puzzles while Link makes his way through a classic fairy tale adventure of defeating monsters to rescue a princess, and went on to sell over 6.5 million copies. That's impressive for back then, and it's an excellent game. I think Link to the Past, subjectively, is my favorite. Probably put part 2 behind that, then part 3. Next, Super Mario Brothers 3. This was a huge game when it first came out, and everybody was talking about it. So, is this the last on the list? I forgot. Alright. The innovative gameplay, mechanics, graphics, music, and basic concepts provided in the 2D platform adventure Super Mario Bros. 3 immediately caught the attention of players everywhere, as well as eye-catching Tanuki suit, its eye-catching Tanuki suit power-up. There's the Frog suit as well, the Hammer Brothers suit. Obviously Tanuki was the best, and I love playing that game and getting the different suits and everything and trying them out in different environments. In its first 2 days, the game sold over 250,000 copies and went on to sell 18 million in its first year. While there are many rumors about a remake or a remaster, that would be awesome. This iconic title from NES does not need any touch-ups to remain popular, and many people still replay it on the Nintendo Switch through Nintendo Switch Online's retro library. Damn, I'm actually really in the mood to play some NES games now. Thank you to who wrote this? Who's the author again? Let's see. Give them a shout out. Not that they'll very unlikely to see this, but anyway, thank you, Carrie Lambertson. It's an excellent article. If you could think of any other games to throw on that list, let me know. Off the top of my head, I think I could throw in Double Dragon, River City Ransom. I'm a huge beat 'em up fan, so I love them. What else? I'm blanking out here. RC Pro-Am was great. Marble Madness was great. For now, I'm going to stream a little bit in a while, so stay tuned. I'm going to post this up to my YouTube. My socials are up there, youtube.com/@RetroCrypt, Instagram, RetroChris82. Twitch, you're watching me here, and then my X handle is Siano, Siano _Chris, and I'll see you guys on the next video.